We must learn to live together as brother and sisters or perish together as fools. Hello, my name is Jack Honeycutt, and today I'm going to be giving you a speech on the interaction between Azizi Ansari and CBS late night show host Stephen Colbert. The interaction between Stephen and Colbert is mainly because Azizi sees a lack of diversity in the workers that work for CBS and the shows specifically that host the show. The interactions between Colbert and Azizi show multiple examples of both unproductive and productive discourse, which I will talk about later. The late night shows starring Stephen Colbert, the host, had Israel Ansari on as one of their interviewees. They're both from South Carolina, so the first initial reaction Colbert makes is to say, so he's happy that there's a fellow South Carolinian there. Obviously, Azizi does not take this pleasantly. His main theme coming into here is to show that he is distressed with the lack of diversity and the lack of colored people on television, especially on television itself. He sarcastically makes multiple jokes about it being diverse because he says, like, wow, there's actually 50% people on here that's not white, but there's only 2 people. So following this, Colbert wants to veer away from this, so he starts to focus on Azizi's successes, such as his time on Parks and Rec, which is a very famous television show. He also sold out the Madison Square Garden, which is very impressive for basically any sort of TV personality or anything like that. And he also wrote a award-winning book, which we will talk about later. So obviously saying through all of that he's very respected within the television world, and everyone around him respects he has a very respected opinion. So although Colbert tries to focus on some of his successes and veer away from this diversity talk, Azizi stays down and focused on his theme and wants to remain talking about this because this is probably why he came, the reason that he came. So Azizi shows a bunch of unproductive discourse, and this is obviously because he is distressed from the situation he's put in and basically his own field, essentially. So obviously you talk about he's the first South Carolinian host, and Azizi initially responds, and you're the billionth white guy to host it, showing that there's no minorities that host these shows at all. It's really only these older white men. And I think that shows that Azizi has distrust within CBS. He doesn't trust that they're making the right decision. He thinks that this is something that's been going on for a while and that change is basically needed, and he doesn't believe that they're making this change. He believes that they're sticking basically to what they know and they don't want to veer out, which is it doesn't give minorities an even chance. And then he talks about that there's 50% of us aren't white on the TV screen right now. And then he responds, that must be an all-time high for CBS. Obviously shooting shots at them, and I would say he shows combativeness towards the company first, and then the host second, because obviously the host doesn't have anything to do with the decision-making of who the company hires, but you can always see when things happen over and over again, a timeline that's consistent and that needs some sort of change. And during this, Azizi doesn't necessarily interrupt Colbert, but he miswords him and changes up the direction of the conversation every time to try to get his main points and themes across. So obviously, hosting a show, you don't want this to be like the reaction that you're getting as the host. You're going to try to veer away from these types of things. And that's why I would say that Colbert has a good reaction and he displays productive discourse. The first thing he says, as they're talking about the 50%, how there's never any minorities, he responds with, does having you on my show count? Essentially saying that, like, we're trying to make a change. I think that shows provisionality, especially in productive discourse, because he's showing that they're trying to evolve and they're trying to make something else, even though that it's not something that's happened recently. And the next thing, they call Azizi's book the wrong name. They call it Modern Romance when it's actually called Modern Love. And obviously, they talk about, well, someone needs to get fired because of this. And Colbert, the host, responds, well, I hope it's a white guy. And I think this shows inclusiveness and understanding with what Colbert is trying to say. And I think that he shows that he understands what Azizi is coming from, basically. So overall, it's obviously a sensitive subject, and I think that Colbert and Azizi did a very good job of standing their ground and basically try to gain the best out of each other while also showing unproductive and productive discourse, which I think helped both them get their points across. And I would say after researching what Azizi is saying, when you look up previous late night show host, the first thing is a picture of 10 just white dudes sitting there. It's all the previous hosts. So basically his ideas are smacking you right in the face, like they're right there in front of you. So I believe in what he's saying. And finally, we all have the ability to strive as a cohesive unit, and we don't need to go down the road such as fools do, because we have this ability to be better. Thank you.